it the meditation all days, or you get the schedule like do it in the morning?
All day.
All days.
Yes, in the beginning it's tough. It will be tough for 3 days. If you keep up with it, then after 3 days it will become easy. But if you give into this and give into that, then it will drag out. It will drag on for weeks, or months, or years. So we just stay. No matter what, it's still, you always feel, okay. You don't die. The only thing that can die is the kilesas. Now, when I give a talk, please do not interrupt. Just listen. If you understand it or not, it doesn't matter. Last time, I was talking about waging a war. The path of practice is about waging war. Waging war against the kilesas. The fourth noble truth of the Lord Buddha gives us, or is translated as the path that leads to the end of all dukkha. And dukkha is not only suffering. It's all sorts of restlessness, it's all sorts of dis-ease, unease, worries, and so on. That is all dukkha. Now the path that leads out of dukkha is the path of sila, samadhi, and panya. Sila meaning the precepts, the moral precepts. Samadhi means concentration and absorption and mindfulness. And panya means wisdom. Now when we start waging the war against the kilesas, against our oppressors, we might reflect about the world, about the people who stand up and get up for the rights. Like in the 70s, Che Guevara was a great symbol for a freedom fighter. He fights for freedom. He doesn't care about if he gets wounded or if he loses a leg or an arm or loses this or that. He wants freedom. He wants to have freedom or wants to gain freedom from his oppressors. And when we look at the history of the world, there always have been people, there always have been nations who wanted to get rid of their oppressors. And they all stood up and waged war against their oppressors. And they didn't mind if in the fight they got wounded or killed. As long as the fight had a meaning for them. The meaning of freedom was always at the top. Be it in revolutions, in the French Revolution, or being in the revolution of the blacks in America, or this and that. We all the people who went into revolution or to gain freedom, they all wanted to freedom from the oppressor. Something, a foreign thing that took their nation, that took their liberty. We remember this. We remember hearing this. We remember reading this. We remember people talking about this. Fighting for the freedom. And fighting for the freedom, people don't mind a thing. Now when we look at the Fourth Noble Truth, it is the fight for freedom as well. It's the path that leads out to the end of suffering. So we have to fight against the oppressor, just in the same way as the people of a nation that is oppressed by another nation has to fight against the oppressor that makes them do this or makes them do that. Because the oppressor is normally the person or the country that demands us to do this or demands us to do that, demands us to give this or to not to give that. It always demands of us. It never lets us do our own thing. So once a nation decides it wants to get rid of its oppressor, it's going to fight. And once we decide, as Buddhists, we decide that we want to get rid of dukkha, now we have to fight the oppressor that produces this dukkha within ourselves. But in the beginning, this might not be clear. Who is the oppressor? We have been living with this oppressor, not only for this life, but for many lives. Not only for 1,000 lives, but maybe 1 million, maybe 10 million, maybe 1 million and millions of lives. So we don't even know what freedom means. We don't even know what it means when this oppressor is not there anymore. Because it constantly demands us. It constantly demands us to like this and to like that, not to like this and not to like that, to want this and to want that, not to want this and not to want that. Constantly it's going on. This war or this oppression constantly takes place within ourselves. And we just need to look, we just need to observe for 5 minutes, and then we see. I don't want this, I don't want that. I want this and I want that. I constantly want to change. So this oppressor constantly demands of us. He never gives us a moment of peacefulness. And deep within our heart, we are longing for a moment of peacefulness. When the voice of the oppressor is not there. That's what our heart is actually longing for. It wants peacefulness. It doesn't want worry, it doesn't want pain, it doesn't want fear, it doesn't want this and it doesn't want that. It just wants to be quiet. Just like ourselves when we are at home and can be our children or it can be our parents or it can be our brothers and sisters constantly bother us, and then we go back in our room. Hopefully we have a room for ourselves where we can lock ourselves up, maybe turn up the music so that we don't hear anybody else. So it's the same. We want to find a room, we want to find a place where we can feel safe, where the oppressor leaves us alone for a moment, or where our parents and our brothers and sisters or our kids leave us alone for a moment, where we just can relax and regain strength. We as human beings normally do it when we go to sleep. We want just to regain our strength, our bodily strength. That's why we go to sleep, we are alone. When we go to sleep, when we fall asleep, we don't know where we're going, do we? Only if we have dreams, and if we remember these dreams, then we remember. But during all these hours, we don't know where we are. We don't even know if we exist, do we? The moment we wake up, we are back again. But if we don't wake up, where are we? We don't know. Because we slept. We call it sleep. Now in the path of practice, there is a way how to get to this kind of sleep. It's a more relaxing sleep. It's a more peaceful sleep. It's called samadhi. There are 3 stages of samadhi. Momentary samadhi, upachara samadhi or access samadhi, or the deep state of samadhi, that is what is called deep sleep. We can get there only if we focus our mind on one point. The deep state of samadhi is also called one-pointedness. If you take the rays of a sun and focus it in a magnifier glass, then we have one central point. And it's very powerful. We all know we can light up this or we can light up that. It's extremely powerful. Now when we focus all our energy on one point, by either repeating the word Buddha, 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 or by focusing on breathing in and breathing out, or even the combination of that, we will reach this state, or the state of one-pointedness. The more we are determined not to let go of our lifesaver, of our word Buddha, or of the breath, the faster we get there. So the determination is not to let go of our lifesaver, not to let go of the word Buddha. The longer we can concentrate on the word Buddha, the closer we will become to the stage of one-pointedness. And one-pointedness is nothing else than the deep state of samadhi, appana samadhi. It's the first time, when we first enter the appana samadhi, it's the first time where we really experience some peacefulness. In one-pointedness, of course, everything has to disappear. If there's only one point, there cannot be 2 points. So the body will disappear, and this whole world will disappear to exist. And what only is left is that what we could call our true nature. It's the true nature of the citta, or in other words, it is clear, crisp knowingness. Just knowingness. Not knowing this object or knowing that object, it's a deeper kind of state of knowing. Just pure knowingness, it knows whatever it knows about. It's difficult to describe because in our world of conventional reality, we always have an observer and the object we observe. So we always have duality. Conventional reality is duality. We have two things. We have the observer and we have the object observed. In one-pointedness, these two things merge into one. And only what remains is only knowing. And remember, the only thing that is necessary to reach this state is our determination and effort not to let go of the Buddha. We don't need to press the Buddha. We don't need to do anything else. We just try not to let go of the word Buddha. That is where we put all our effort and determination into. Once we see the mind goes off, we bring it back. We see the mind goes off, we bring it back. And in the beginning times, we have to bring it back very often. Once we are a little bit more experienced, once we are a little bit more practiced, we don't need to bring it back that often. But in the beginning times, every second or every half a minute, we have to bring it back. It won't stay on the Buddha. So we have to train our mind, like we have to train it for so many things. We have trained it to think, we have trained it to walk, we have trained it to speak, we have trained it to eat and digest. We have trained it for 15 or 20 years, until it became a full-fledged human being, being able to use. So now we have to train our mind just to stick to one thing, in Buddha. And if we stick to it, within no time, we will reach Appana Samadhi. Appana Samadhi is depicted in knowingness, clear, crisp knowingness. The mind is completely alert, 100% alert. And it's a state of peacefulness and happiness. Dhamma Mahabodha also calls this place as a preview of Nibbana. That's where we actually do see or have a notion of what our true state of being is. That's where we can experience. And it doesn't take all this long to be able to go there. But just don't forget that we have to put in a lot of effort to get there. Not allow the mind just to wander off. Not allow. Under no circumstances. The life here is very simple, so we don't have to think about it. We eat one meal a day, and that's all. We don't have a lot of work to do. We don't have to help out this. We don't have to help out that. The only thing that we have to do at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we sweep and we clean up our kuti, and that's it. In the morning, the meal, and then cleaning up our kuti at 3 o'clock. That's all the work we have to do. And we have to wash ourselves to keep that body clean. And the rest of the time, the rest of the 24 hours, maybe 20 hours, is there for our practice. The practice of keeping the mind centered on one word, on one theme, Buddha, Buddha, Buddha. Being interested in this word Buddha. So this is Samadhi. Now when I was talking in the beginning, I was talking about waging the war against our oppressor. The oppressor, in our terms, is nothing else than avijja itself. Avijja, not knowing, the not knowingness or delusion part, that keeps us constantly in a state of not really knowing. Not knowing for sure. And its main fangs of avijja are greed, hatred, and delusion. Greed, we all know. Greed is any form I want. Hate, we all know, is any form of I don't want, I dislike, I don't like. Being upset is a form of hate. Wanting this, just wanting a drink, is a form of greed. So we have to fight 3 main armies. That are the armies of greed, hate, and delusion. And the soldiers of these armies are called kilesas. And that is the thing that we have to wage war against. Now, in order to be successful in our fight for freedom, we have to set our sila right. Dhamma Mahabodha often calls or uses the example of a boxing match. Boxing is a national sport in Thailand, so it's quite common to use this. He says the path to freedom is the path, to box against the champ. The champ is nothing else than avijja. So we get in the boxing ring. The moment the first time we enter the boxing ring, we're knocked out. Because we are knocked out by the champ. Now, waging the war, or going the path of freedom, has these 3 components, or these 3 columns. It has the column of sila, samadhi, and panya. Sila is morality, or moral precepts. Now the moral precepts keep us, when we use this example of the boxing ring, keep us in the confinement of the boxing ring. If we do not keep the silas, we will be kicked out in the whole world. We don't know where our box is. That's what makes sila. We will always be aware, within the confinement of the boxing ring, there will be our champ, avijja. Now, if we are not keeping sila, we will not be able to locate our true animal. If we go back in the world of the senses and defy all the moral precepts, then we are at loss. We don't even know where our enemy is. Now, Sila is the one that confines us in this boxing ring. Samadhi is the observance. You can compare it with the observance. The moment we are knocked out, we're not getting up immediately. We open our eyes before us and then look at the champ, look at the boxer. That is what is called samadhi. Observe, to be actually aware of what is going on. We do not jump to conclusions. We do not jump up. We just open our eyes first and see where the boxer is and what he is into. So that if we get up, that we are not knocked down immediately again. That is samadhi, that is sati, that is awareness, that is being able to concentrate, not just running off on our impulse. And wisdom is the one thing that is being developed while observing how the boxer boxes. How he uses his left arm, how he uses his footwork, how he uses his right arm. And how he hits us. By observing, Panya will grow. And by experimenting, getting up here and getting up there, our experience will grow and deepen into wisdom. And in the end, we can get up, we will duck his blows, and we will be able to make a blow. Once we get our first victory on the champ, then we know what it is really like to be without an oppressor. Just for a moment, we just knocked him out, maybe for a minute, maybe for an hour. But we know the difference when he comes back and hits us again. This is our true enemy, this is our true oppressor. And when we go on the path of deliverance, when we go on the path to freedom, then we have to fight this war. Or we have to fight this boxing match. The champ will not let us go out very easily. So just remember this. Remember the fourth noble truth, or the path that leads to the end of dukkha, as either waging war against our oppressors, like freedom fighters in the world, or fighting the champion in the boxer. Sila is the one thing that confines us in the ring. Don't underestimate it. The moment we get out of the ring, even if we are just in the same building, we don't see the boxer anymore. It confines us into the ring. The more refined our sila is, the more closer the ring is. If the sila is just the precepts of the 5 silas, it might be just the whole building. The boxing studio or whatever. If our sila is the sila of a monk or of a nun, the 227 rules, that just means that the 4 by 4 square meters boxing ring itself. We constantly see the champ. We are not deluded anymore where the champ or where the boxer is. We constantly see our oppressor all the time. That is the importance or the meaning of sila. Confining the level or the area of war. Confining the level or the area of our fight. Fight for freedom. People in the world do everything to fight for freedom. They don't mind if they lose a leg. They don't mind if they get wounded. They don't mind if they lose their life. As long as they can fight for freedom, that's their idea. The moment we start our path to the end of dukkha, we mind everything. We are afraid that we lose our leg, we are afraid that we get wounded, we are afraid that we get pain, and that's why we stop. We are not really spiritual warriors then. If we are not afraid on our path of spiritual war, then it's an easy path of us. It's an easy path for us. But if you are afraid of pain, if you are afraid of doubt and worries and this, then we won't go very long on this path. We sit for 2 hours and then we think we'll die. We sit for 2 hours and then we think we're going to break our leg. This is unhealthy. This is the kind of oppressor we have to face up. He's constantly seducing us, making us believe that this is right, what is actually wrong, and that this is wrong, what is actually right. He makes us believe that this way is not bringing us anything. And we fall for him, so we stop to practice. He makes us believe that this kind of long sitting or long walking is ruining our body, so we stop. It's not just the opponent we have is the most sophisticated opponent that we can ever think of. He's more cleverer than we are in the beginning. He has ruled us for so many hundreds and millions of lives. He knows us so much better. He knows all our weaknesses and he knows our strengths. So he will play up all the weaknesses that we have and make us forget all the strengths that we have. Once we fight against him. As long as we do what he wants us to do, we have all the strengths that we need to. The moment we go against his wishes, just like any kind of oppressor, the moment we get against his commands, he will punish us. Don't forget that. The example of the boxing match is an easy example, but we don't know what the champ is like. The champ is actually us. That's what we think it is. So in the beginning we have to separate this. We have to take the advice of the Lord Buddha and say, who taught us, this is not me. This is not mine. This does not belong to me. The principle of anatta, he taught it to us as a means to separate the goodness or the light and the darkness of each other. The light is Dhamma and the darkness is avijja. In the beginning, what we see is all grey. So we have to separate it out. To separate the light of Dhamma and to separate the darkness of avijja. And for this, we can use the principle of anatta. This is not me. This is not mine. This doesn't belong to me. So, what is not me? What is not mine? What does not belong to me? Whatever I can observe, whatever I know about a thought, don't I? So this is not me, this is not mine, this doesn't belong to me. This is just a thought. The Lord Buddha said, don't call it I think, call it there is a thought. Don't call it I feel, call it there is a feeling. There's a feeling that we can observe. There's a memory that we can observe. There's a thought that we are aware of, or there's consciousness that we are aware of, or there's the body that we are aware of. So separate it out. In the beginning of our practice, these things are mixed up. It's just one gray area. Now, with this principle of anatta, this is not me, this is not mine, this is not myself. This does not belong to me. We can separate out the black and the white. That helps us getting, okay. And we go only against what is not me, what is not mine, what doesn't belong to us. And in the beginning we will see everything we think is me, is mine, it belongs to me. The body is me, is mine, it belongs to me. The feeling is my feeling. The thought, of course, it's my thought. That's what we think. The memory, of course, it's my memory. And consciousness, of course, it's my consciousness. So use the principle of anatta to separate it out, to make it apparent that there is something. If there is a feeling and we can observe it, who is the one who knows about this feeling? This must be a completely separate entity, isn't it? We wouldn't consider the tree that we lean against it to be us, or so we see it, so we feel it. But we wouldn't call it us. We can do whatever we want to do with the tree. We can cut it down, we shape it up, or we use it for this or use it for that. But it doesn't make it us. Huh? The ground we are sitting on, we don't think it's us. So why do we only think it with these 5 khandhas? That this is me, this is mine, and this belongs to me. Why? We can observe it just the way we can observe the chicken, or just the way we can observe the tree, or just the way we can observe the food. We can observe a feeling. So who is the one who observes it? This is the way to separate out. The principle of anatta is the way to separate out, to make us apparent who is the oppressor and who is not. Use it. Use also the principle of anicca. Anicca just means impermanent. Whatever arises must cease. There's never been a never-ending night. The night is followed by the day. A good feeling is followed by a bad feeling. We haven't been, since we are born, only good feelings. The good feeling is switched off into an unpleasant feeling. So the pleasant feeling disappears and the unpleasant feeling appears. Then the pleasant feeling appears and the unpleasant feeling disappears. It's constantly going on. We are just not aware of it. So use this principle. Whenever something comes into, whatever goes up, must come down. We all know that. We know physics. We have been raised with physics. It was taught in our school to us. So why don't we believe it? So whatever comes up, whatever goes up must come down. Whatever arises must cease. We all know it, that all things in this world are impermanent, including our body. We know that our feelings are impermanent. We know that sometimes we have good feelings, sometimes we have bad feelings. Or pleasant feelings or unpleasant feelings. We have pleasant memories and unpleasant memories. We don't have all the time all the same memory. So how can we call it us if it's constantly changing? So use this principle of anicca as well. To separate out things. To make a more clear picture. Who is our enemy? And dukkha is that what most of us brought us in. Dukkha is dissatisfaction, dis-ease, uncomfortableness, pain, suffering. That is the third principle. Use these 3 principles that pervade your whole universe. Use them to separate out what is us and what is not us. That is the first process. Whatever we can observe, we are not. Otherwise, the tree must be us as well. Whatever we can observe outside must be us as well. The body, we can observe, we can see just like a tree we can see. Why do we call the body us and the tree it's not us? Or another person, why do we call it it's not us? We can see it. We can feel it. So whatever whatever there is, look at it within these terms. As anicca, anatta, dukkha. Whoever knows is not the thing known. So when we encounter pain, there's somebody who knows about the pain. And there's the pain. How can the pain be us? So observe it very closely. In the end, you will give up. This is too much pain. Who's giving up? The kilesas are giving up. Cannot stand the pain. It cannot yet separate it out. It cannot yet really separate it out. Okay, there is pain and there is somebody who knows about it. And the somebody who knows about it is never perturbed by anything at all. Listen, it's never perturbed by anything at all. It just observes like we observe a movie. We all have seen movies. If the hero in the movie gets wounded or dies, the person who observes it, is he wounded or does he die? If he's shot, are we shot? We just observe these things. So the true person is actually sitting in the seat, watching the movie of our life. If we do not separate these things out, we are always in the dark. We will not know who is our real oppressor, and we will not know who we really have to fight and how we have to fight. So put your effort into the practice. Get things clear. Don't muddle up things. When we look at our world that we used to live in, it's all muddled up. It's muddled up by economics, it's muddled up by seasons, and so on and so on. Now our world here in this monastery is very simple, very clear. There's body, there's feeling, there's memory and association, there's thinking and consciousness. That's all what there is. And it all holds in within this body. This 6 foot or whatever meter long body. That's where our world arises, and that's where our world ceases. So put your effort into the practice. Get clever with it. Get clever with separating out to find where our true enemy is. Because he tells us the enemy is the Dhamma. The enemy is the practice. Of course, he would tell us that. He doesn't want to get hurt. And who is hurt? The kilesas are hurt. Who is afraid of death? The kilesas are afraid of death. Who worries? The kilesas worry. Everything is the work of our opponent. But we have attached to it and we think like we attach to the movie that we see. In the end we think, this is us. Now the first step is to separate it out. What is us and what is not us. So take this advice, and with this I end my talk.